Hello and welcome to the third session of financial crime and risk compliance. In the previous two lectures, we have gone through a lot of concepts. If in case you've not gone through those videos, I would highly suggest you go through them in order to clear a lot of concepts. We have gone through the career options in financial, in the compliance departments of financial institutions. We've gone through different types of financial crimes like money laundering, fraud, regulators. All this was covered in the first session. The link is in the description. Apart from that, in the previous session, we had covered the concepts of bribery and corruption, which mainly talk about PEPs. So in case if you are unaware of these concepts, don't forget to have a look at them. I will make sure that I mention them in the description or somewhere here in the bell button, both the sessions. And in case if you have already gone through them, don't forget to hit a like button and a like button on this video as well. So having said that, let me continue with today's session. In today's session, we will be talking about risk-based approach, high-risk jurisdiction, and high-risk businesses. Very interesting things which we are about to now start. So risk-based approach. What is a risk-based approach? It is like a kind of an approach which could involve a risk and the decision is taken whether to take it or not. So that is what we mean by a risk-based approach. Let me try and explain it to you with the help of an example. If A earns 30,000 rupees a year, 30,000 rupees a month, and suddenly there is a transaction of 3 lakh rupees into his account. On the question, he says that he has received the money from a friend for selling his car. So he sold his car to that friend B. So A got 3 lakhs from him. Now it is difficult to get the paperwork. So if it is difficult to locate the paperwork and we find out that the bank inquiring this is, let's assume, Deutsche Bank. If Deutsche Bank is inquiring all this and B happens to have an account in Deutsche Bank and is an employee of Deutsche Bank, and now we know that he is getting a regular salary, B is getting a regular salary and he can afford the car, and it is possible for B to pay A. So then in such a situation, there is absence of documents, but we can take a risk-based approach on this fact that, okay, maybe B is an employee, it is possible that he may have done this transaction. So this, when we do this and we close the case, we believe to have taken a risk-based approach in this situation. Now it is possible that if B was not an employee of Deutsche Bank, right? What if that situation? Then we could have avoided the risk-based approach, because then we need to find out who actually B is. But because B was an employee of Deutsche Bank and there was a reason to believe that he could have bought the car because he was drawing a salary every month. So keeping those things in mind, it is possible to use a risk-based approach, but maybe not if B was any other person. Then proper care would have had to taken, and if the proper documentation was unavailable, then it is possible, I had mentioned in the first video, that if there are suspicious activities, then we have no choice but to question the person doing them, and if we don't get reasonable answers, we have no choice but to freeze their account and report to regulators. What are regulators? I also discussed in the first video, so make sure you have a look at that as well. Now let us go through the concept of high-risk jurisdiction. What is a high-risk jurisdiction? These countries have weak money laundering and terrorist financing laws. So the countries that have very weak laws, it is possible that money can be laundered, which may end up resulting in unfortunate terrorist activities or other things. So these are called high-risk countries. The examples of these countries are Nigeria, South Sudan, Turkey, Iraq, Crimea, Afghanistan, where terrorist activities are rampant and money laundering laws are weak. It is possible to obtain a lot of money from illegal activities like ransom, kidnapping, from drug trafficking, human trafficking, and many other illegal sources. So government in these countries are not stable. There is political unrest, governments are not stable. So these countries come under high risk jurisdiction, and special care are supposed to be done on such countries. because some countries are levied, therefore they have been sanctioned. So some countries are have been sanctioned. So let me now discuss the countries that have been highly sanctioned economically as well as criminally. So the countries that come in the list of highly sanctioned countries, the list includes of 9 countries. Apart from the countries that I mentioned are high risk jurisdiction countries. So these are examples that I've already mentioned above, and there may be many high risk countries. Now I'm going to be talking about the highly sanctioned countries, which are the most, like the list of highly sanctioned countries, they come in the list of the most of that. So this includes a list of 9 countries and will be which are criminally as well as economically sanctioned. They are Iran, Cuba, North Korea, Syria, Libya, Iraq, and most recently 3 more countries have been added, which include Belarus, Congo, and Lebanon. So these countries have been recently added, and I would like you, for those of you who are watching the session, to have a look at why these countries have been added. Just have a look at all these 9 countries and know the reason, because there has to be a reason if they've been added in this list. So have a look at the reason why they've been added, and I'm sure you will understand a lot of points with respect to this subject. So have a look at why these countries have been have come in this list. For your convenience, I will try to post some links in the description which will help you understand some of these points. Russia is also sanctioned, but Russia, you may have this question, okay, what about Russia? So Russia is economically sanctioned, so it is not in this list. Also, I would like to mention one more thing, that this list is not permanent. It can keep changing, right? So as I've just told you, that these 3 countries were just recently added. So it is possible that if they show good behavior, maybe they are out of this list. So it totally depends. So that is the reason why I've said that please have a look at why these countries were included, because it is possible maybe after a year they may be removed, and if you take up this profession and in a job interview you answer that Lebanon is still there, but maybe by that time Lebanon is, maybe it has been removed. So it is very important to be up to date, because many people ask me in the comments that what are the books that we can read on the subject. So rather than reading books, I would actually suggest you to go through the articles, the latest articles on this subject, because they keep you up to date. So after you go through this entire series, have a look at the articles that I mentioned in the description, as well as the articles that the latest articles that come on the subject, because it requires you to be a bit up to date. In fact, it requires you to be up to date more than in litigation, because in court work, because there the laws don't change so fast. In this domain, the laws are that, there are new regulations, there are new rules that come almost in every week or every month. So it is important to stay up to date if you wish to have a career in this subject. It may not be that complicated and difficult, it could be slightly easier, but then it may require reading as well. Okay, one very quick thing which I would like to mention is that what if you have a stamped visa from these countries? If you have a visa, if you visited these countries, it is possible that you may get issues if you are applying for a US, UK or Schengen visa, because if you have a stamp of any of these countries, they may ask you a lot of questions of why you visited and what was the reason of your visit, and it is possible that you could be denied a visa if you visit any of these highly sanctioned countries. So please, important piece of information, have do you give this point also consideration if you intend to visit any of these countries. One quick thing is that who imposes sanctions? So sanctions can be either imposed through the UN. So as I had mentioned in the first session, that if India goes to if Pakistan does something wrong, India may go to UN, say, see, Pakistan is doing these things, they violated international law, and then UN can impose sanctions on Pakistan. Also, what could happen is that the regulating authority, which is OFAC of the US, Now they may impose sanctions on Pakistan because they may have done something wrong, and then maybe UK can follow. Now since US has imposed sanctions, UK has followed, other countries might feel that yes, there has to be something, that's why they've imposed sanctions on them. They must, Pakistan must have done something wrong, so then other countries also follow, and that's how all these countries impose sanctions on a particular country. So that is the second thing. It is also possible that all the NATO countries, NATO decides to put a sanction on any particular country, and then some others could also follow. Or it is possible that others don't follow, and those the sanctions can be only be imposed by the NATO countries, and all the countries are a party to all those sanctions. So this is how sanctions are actually imposed, and that is why we need to be updated about which country has been sanctioned, all these things with this in the subject. Okay, now let us move to the last topic, which is high risk business. Weakly or lowly regulated, in which it is easy to launder money. So weakly or lowly regulated businesses in which it is easy to launder money come under high risk businesses. Let me take an example of a business which is manufacturing, which is the business of precious stones, metals, gold. It is difficult to regulate such businesses. That is why, because prices of precious stones, they keep going up and down, right? So let's take an example. If A wants to launder some money, okay, so A will actually buy gold. He has purchased, let's say, gold worth rupees 7 lakhs. So he's purchased gold for worth rupees 7 lakhs, but maybe now the price of gold is worth 10 lakhs. So he will maybe raise a bill for 10 lakhs, right? Now by this, how much money has he laundered? He's laundered 3 lakhs, because 7 lakhs is of course what he's actually paid, and maybe 3 lakhs he's laundered his own money and now deposited in the bank, showing that, see, I've purchased gold for 10 lakhs and see, these are the invoices. So by doing such an activity, by creating such an invoice which helps him to launder a particular amount of money, so that is why these are high risk businesses, whereas there are high chances of money laundering. Okay, so let us now consider some other points. Also, I would like you, before I go ahead with this, I would also like you to have a look at some other points, which is casinos and gambling, arms and ammunitions. How is money laundered in these situations? So have a look at these businesses, how it is laundered money, and also have a look at why these businesses are at the risk, high risk businesses. What is the reason why gambling, why arms and ammunition businesses are in the high risk businesses? Because there have to be case laws, there have to be something that must have happened, and that is the reason why they are now in the category of high risk businesses. Please have a look at that as well. I will try to discuss this in the upcoming videos, and also I will try to make short videos and case study videos on the same subject. Okay, last but not the least, let us talk about real estate as well. So real estate is also like a high risk business, because for example, a person buys property worth 40 lakhs. He gets a receipt of 60 lakhs. So he can show that 60 lakhs and to the bank and say, see, I have purchased a property worth 60. So by that, he would launder about 20 lakhs of money. So this is how it is possible for such businesses owners to launder money like this. Last but not the least, cash intensive businesses like petrol pumps and restaurants, where there is a high chance of money laundering. So you can also have a look at that and go through the reason why such businesses have been listed in this category. Because it is possible that a business might create a receipt of 5,000 for the customer who has had a bill, and then for submitting it may create an invoice of 8,000. So that is also possible. So have a look at how much how much money was laundered in these businesses in the financial year 2020 2021, and that is how you will come to know why these restaurants, why these businesses are listed in this category. So these were the high risk businesses that I have covered in this particular session, and I would expect it would be great if you can have a look at why, just read one line of why these businesses have come in the category. I will be posting some articles in description below. You can have a look at them as well. And with this, we come an end to this session. So we will be having the next session and we will be covering some other topics. But before that, in case if you like the session, don't forget to give a like button. If you have any questions, anything that you may not have understood, don't forget to leave a comment and I will try to answer that at the earliest. And last but not the least, if you wish to stay connected with such updates, don't forget to connect with our Instagram handle and subscribe to the YouTube page. Last but not the least, do take very good care of yourself, and thank you so much for watching.